Be the Best You podcast. The sole purpose of this podcast is to teach, inspire, and motivate everyone to be the best versions of themselves. Welcome to another episode of the Be the Best You podcast. I'm your host, Larry Dawson, and today I have an awesome guest on, Mr. Julius, aka Mixed Tarzan.
What's up? What's going on?
Man, tell them a little bit about yourself, who you are, what got you started, and all the awesome stuff you have going on, man.
So who I am, man, I'm an individualist. That's the best way to describe me. I would promote self-growth on any platform that I'm on, because I think that's the most important role we can play, is building people up from the ground up, right? So I've gone by Mixed Tarzan or Julius Alexander, depending on what platform it is. And how would I describe that?
How long have you been doing the Mixed Tarzan stuff, man?
Before TikTok, I was one of the first people to. Back in the day, there was an app called Musical.ly, and it was a bunch of nonsense, right? Well, I mean, everything's nonsense now, but like there's a bunch of like lip syncing videos or like the whatever the hell this was. We cuss on here?
Yeah, it's all right.
Like whatever this was, like I don't know what the hell that was, but like that was the only thing on that platform, Musical.ly. So I went on there and I was like, how can I relate to like this audience, this childlike audience, and still bring about some fitness messages? So I was like, all right, I'm gonna throw on a loincloth. Everybody's always called me Tarzan since like high school.
Yeah. And
I was like, let me just do entertaining stuff, and it showcased that I'm athletic without shoving fitness down these children's throats. Like without like pushing a message. So it's like boring. I was trying to be interactive and fun, and that actually got me started on that because I went viral because there was nobody else doing it at the time, and that it just transferred over to TikTok, and then it transferred over to every other platform that I've done, and I've kind of refined that message ever since. Just trying to divulge and get the message of self-improvement in many different ways across to whatever audience I have at the time.
Which ties into perfectly why I asked you to be on, because it's the Be the Best You podcast. So obviously I'm trying to, help anyone that's watching or listening to be a better version of themselves. And no matter where you come from, what your struggle is, what your adversity, you could come from the most beautiful place in the world or the most horrible place in the world. But we all have the ability to grow and become better people. And, my story is a testament to that. And, ever since I've known you, you had a great energy, very positive. Very uplifting towards yourself and other people. I've always appreciated that about you.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I wanted to have you on, so other people, could check you out and see your message and see how uplifting you are. And your videos, man, like, I don't watch a lot of people's videos. I just don't consume a lot of content. I put out content. So. Yeah, but I do watch some of your stuff, man, and I always have, and you're my friend. I'm always going to support you. And I could be in a bad mood and see one of your videos and you'll make me laugh.
That's what I hope. That's what I only can hope for,
Yeah. So man, keep being great and keep doing what you're doing. I'm thankful to have you on. If you guys are watching or listening, please take the time to like, share, comment, subscribe. Make sure you let people know about this awesome man. Before we get off here today, we'll give you all the different avenues that you can check him out on. But I got some really good questions, man, and I want to dive into some of these questions I have for you. And get to know a little bit more about you.
Let's roll.
So you are a professional bodybuilder. You do bodybuilding. You're also a social media influencer with a really big following. Tell us what it's like to do both and how they can help each other and work hand in hand with each other.
All right, first I have to say I'm not professional.
Okay.
I actually aspired to be, and I've been on stage before, and I've like won some shows here and there. But I am so far from a professional, and actually that is what led me to kind of step a little bit away from the bodybuilding stage. Fitness and health still is the center, but I realized in my pursuit of bodybuilding, I realized that it was a little bit unhealthy. If I wanted to take the necessary steps to make it to that professional stage, I would have had to cross barriers and boundaries and morality that I just wasn't willing to do. But when I did do bodybuilding, which I guess my training style is bodybuilding now, so I guess I'll rephrase that. So living a healthy life and working out constantly has affected every single facet of my success. beyond measure. I've had jobs in the past where they have hired me, they've told me later on that they've hired me specifically because I was fit, so they assumed because of my fitness that I would be dedicated to their job. Now, obviously I was more dedicated to myself than any of those other jobs, but that's a good assumption because it's like you show dedication to your own life, people automatically respect that more. And so that's my message to y'all. Make sure that people see your fitness level. It's not just something you hide away just because you're not looking at you all the time. Other people are looking at you. And that's not to shame anybody on a journey currently. That's more so to inspire you to make sure that you are aware of your journey and making sure that you know that people are watching. People are looking at you. People are making judgments. Even if it's not right to make judgments, that's not for me to say. It's still happening. So you have to be aware of that. The other thing in terms of like how it's correlated, the fitness versus social media, people notice, so people are gravitated towards what they find attractive. And I've obviously noticed that, like, I'm not saying I'm the best looking dude or whatever, like the most fit, but I've just known that when I have a more presentable physique, the views tend to be a little better. And that's not me, again, I'm not over glorifying myself, it's just more of an observation from what I've noticed. When I look better, the views are better. So I tend to do that. The other thing, this is such a big note, I go on a lot of these retreats or, what do you call them, like social media conventions. And we are filming or walking around or communicating with other creators from morning to night, multiple nights in a row. And it's oftentimes where I'm usually one of the first up, and I'm damn sure the last one to go to sleep, and I have the most energy and enthusiasm of the group typically, from start to finish, and that's because that is a testament of the health. So I'm able to literally do my job better just simply because of the fortitude that I've kind of created for myself, and never faltering from that diet or from the drinking water, from that level of fitness.
Which falls in line with a lot of the guests and doctors that we've had on these episodes so far, where we touched on those things, from psychiatrists to chiropractors to doctors, and we'll be on here, and I talk about it, but hear them talk about it as well, where people don't understand like what you intake, like your food wise and your liquid wise, affects everything. It affects your mood, your energy levels, all the way to like headaches, dehydration, sickness, depression. So when people aren't operating their best and they're like, oh, I'm tired, or it's all because of this or stuff, they'll look for all the reasons except for the right reasons. And a lot of times the right reasons is you're eating terrible. Mm-hmm. Your body's shutting down on you and you can't function properly because you're putting bad fuel in it. It's like going and putting bad gas in your car and wondering why your car's sputtering. So we talk about that. So I appreciate you touching on that. Another thing is, it's funny that you said that about the videos. There was several years back, I was doing a show and I was answering people's questions on a show. I'm not even going to get into all of it. And the views were like slowly upticking, but they weren't moving at the pace I wanted to. And someone said, do one of the episodes with your shirt off. So I did, and it went crazy, man. It was like through the roof and stuff. They're like, see, I told you. I'm like, but that ain't really what I want. I'm not trying to get people's views because of my shirt being off. I'm trying to get it because of the content. But when you were saying that just now, I was like, man, I completely understand that.
But that's the delivery method. Sometimes it just takes that. Everybody has their own method of getting. I look at content as somehow being delivered across the world, across the country that you're in. It's basically like, all right, you have a message, right? Well, what car are you going to put the message in? What gas are you feeding that message? So, like, for instance, are we allowed to talk about Andrew Tate? Like, his message, while most of it being great, his delivery method, his car, was a literal Bugatti, because he used that flagrant look at me lifestyle kind of like thing and a lot of hot takes to drive to get his views all over the world, and it worked. Same with Donald Trump. I don't really care to get into politics, but it was still a delivery method, because I'm sure he knew some of the stuff he was saying was outlandish and out there.
Yeah.
But he got heard. And whether or not I agree, again, I'm just talking about delivery methods of controversial people, because they decide to use that as a method. Same with a lot of female rappers these days. In order to get views, what do? Turn around and shake their ass while they're rapping their lyrics, and the views go up just simply because of the ass delivery.
Nah, you're right. And first of all, since you brought Andrew Tate up, let me say this. If you don't have no charges on that man, let that man go free. Just because you don't like the words that come out of his mouth he does not deserve to be in prison. Words out of your mouth do not deserve to put you in prison. I've been in prison and I've been around people who deserve to be in prison. And just because you don't like someone's delivery, and just because you don't like someone's opinion, and just because you don't like the method of what they're using to get people's attention, that does not mean that people need to be in prison. So if you don't got no charges against that man, let that man out of prison. Because what's going on right now with him is crimes against humanity. You don't just lock a person up for an entire year with zero charges. Zero charges. You've been investigating for an entire year and you have zero charges. Now, if you charge him with something and there's evidence against him, then that's one thing. But you're holding someone in jail with no charges.
Yeah. So let me say that, like, first of all, if the dude is guilty, which I do not believe he is, I hope he rots, right? But the evidence stacked against the prosecution is insane. That they are completely overlooking two of the testimonies being fake, and there was messages released that they were fake, and then two of the victims said it out loud to so many people that said, hey, we're not actually victims, like they put us on this victims list and we're not, like we tried to reach out to DICOT and they would not allow us to say it. So the victims in question, two of them were false and two of them said they're not. There was CCTV evidence that they actually did not get held against their will, and that is very important to this, because it's not necessarily about, everybody's throwing out these different allegations that he's kind of being accused of or everything like that, but it's specifically the word of these girls claiming that they were held against their will, and their CCTV evidence saying that they were not. I'm so sorry, showing that they were not, because they were literally leaving and coming and leaving and coming during the 3 days that they were, during the 3 days of question, whenever the girls said, oh, we were held. There's literally evidence of them smiling, like leaving, waiting for their Uber, getting the Tate's assistants to bring their bags of shopping to and from the car.
Yeah. There
was TikToks released while they made in the Tate house during the day in question. Did you know all that?
I actually do. I've actually studied a lot of Andrew Tate stuff, and even though me and him, we have some similarities in our beliefs, we have a lot of things that I don't agree with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's 50-50. But as a man, I just find it really disheartening that I think we're in the 21st century. It's 2023. I think we know he wants to call it the Matrix. You want to call it the man. You want to call it government. You want to call it the 1% society. I don't give a damn what name you put on it. But I think it shines a bright light on the fact that he's speaking against what he calls the Matrix. And if you think that there's not a system in place that ain't real, he is literally proof. Literally what's being done to him right now is proof of what he was telling you. Yeah. That there is a system that will shut you up. He literally said a year ago that the system will come at you first and they will try to silence you and they will try to discredit you and they will bring false allegations against you. After that, they will arrest you on fake charges and try to get rid of you. And if that doesn't work,
the final bullet.
Yeah. And Dr. Jordan Peterson, I don't know if you pay attention to his stuff. Yeah. They're trying to do the same thing to Dr. Jordan Peterson now, which is one of the most renowned doctors in the entire world. But because he's speaking against a system, the woke system and all the other stuff, they're trying to silence him now. And, I was talking to my friend the other day, and I was telling him this. He was like, man, you got to be careful what you say. You can't say this. I said, that's bullshit. And I completely disagree with that, because we live in America. And every member of my family has fought and been in war and served in the military.
Really?
Every male member of my family. So we're in a country that was fought for us to be able to have freedom to speak our mind, to have our opinions, to vote this way or that way. So all of a sudden, this new cancel culture, this new control what everybody says, control how everybody thinks, everybody has to say, I'm completely against it. And if we're not careful, we're going to be like controlled like sheep, where everybody has to talk and think the same. And I was telling my friend, I was like, bro, sometimes people have to speak up. You're saying not just be quiet and sit down. What if Martin Luther King would have just been quiet and sat down?
Yeah.
What if he would have just been quiet and sat down? He said, no, what's going on ain't right. And he stood up and spoke for what was right. And, now there's a day named after him, Martin Luther King Day. But if he would have just sat down and just been quiet, like my friend was saying he should, none of the breakthroughs that man pushed for would have happened. But because he wouldn't be quiet and he wouldn't sit down, doors were open, laws were changed, and just the magnitude of the effect he's had on not only this country, but people around the world. And it takes individuals like that to change the world, because renegades are ordinary people like you and me with their own philosophies.
Right.
So, you don't have no charges on man. Let that man go. And
Free Top G.
Yeah, free Top G. And stop trying to cancel Dr. Jordan Peterson. That man is one of the most intelligent human beings walking planet Earth. His books, his lessons, his speeches are life-changing. This man is so deep and so real and so on point. The fact that he might say one or two things you don't like and you're trying to cancel him is insane. And I challenge anybody to go listen to Dr. Jordan Peterson and listen to his stuff.
At
full. Not snippets
not
that someone
clips.
took and chipped it and chopped it and put together. Look at his real stuff and listen to it, and you walk away and tell me that the stuff he's not saying is not legit and real and deep and based off of facts, not opinions.
Matter of fact, I'll double down on that. If you do not like what Jordan Peterson says, if you watch one of his interviews or videos at full and you still disagree with him, send me proof that you watched it, and I'll send you $100. That's how adamantly I believe that it would change your mind. Most people are clipped and taken out of context. I guarantee you, this is going to be clipped too, or this could be clipped too. If it's.
The only thing they're gonna clip
is me saying free Top G.
and me following up, and they're gonna be like, they support misogynistic beliefs. They hate feminism.
Right, and they wouldn't clip in there that we said, hey, you know what, a lot of that stuff we don't agree with, and hey, some of that stuff is a little bit outlandish, like I said before, but it's like, hey, he still has a core, man. It's a core message. Respect yourself. That's mine.
He uses it to get attention for his business, and we want to condemn him, but then we idolize rappers and put them on a pedestal. And no offense to rap music, I listen to all music, and I listen to rap music too, but listen to what they're saying. They're talking about killing people, they're talking about robbing people, they're talking about selling drugs, they're talking about doing messed up stuff to women.
Nah, see, they aren't even talking about selling drugs no more. This generation of rap is talking about taking them.
Well,
that's crazy to me that we shifted from that narrative to where it was like, all right, before you're talking about selling drugs and never get high on your own supply, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like, Molly Percocet. What did she say too? Selling ass and taking drugs.
Yeah.
Because we not only do we glorify rappers, but we also glorify OnlyFans whores. Oh, can we say whores on there?
We can.
Or we glorify OnlyFans bimbos. Change it up.
Boy, you just got my show canceled.
That's why I put the bimbos. I like bimbo better anyway. Clip that. Bimbo's better.
I'm just messing around. Hey man, listen. This is how I look at it. Like my friend, the same friend I had that conversation with, he also said this about the David Chappelle situation. If you're gonna put yourself out there, you have to be prepared for the criticism that comes. So if my core beliefs is that I don't support OnlyFans and people doing stuff to themselves for money, and I say it and you come at me for it, so what? I might, you're not gonna like everything I say.
No. And in fact,
I'm not gonna like everything you say.
If everybody does have, if there's somebody that they can agree on everything with, that is suspicious as fuck to me.
Yeah, super suspicious because it's not genuine. Because no two human beings are the same. We're all wired different. That's why I don't understand why more people aren't speaking up with this new trend in society where everybody has to have the same opinion. Everybody has to think the same. And if you don't think the same and you don't have the same opinion, we just cancel you. Yeah. Like, what?
Well, it's a very specific narrative they're trying to push, so they have an agenda out there. It's specific.
All right, so before we go any further, man, you got me way off topic, but this has gotten really good, so I gotta ask you this question. It's not even on my list. What's your opinion on cancel culture?
You should play one of my videos about it. I made a video about it. Nah, you know what? Cancel culture is a psyop. Cancel culture. We've taken. How do I word this properly? Because this is a very delicate topic, and you know what? It's an important one, so I want to be careful with how I say this. In society, there are certain things. In this world, there are certain things that are true. There are realities that we all have to adhere to, right? And when they can take a reality and warp it to where a truth can get you canceled, we no longer live in a real world. It's clown world. Because now if you say a truth like, you will be healthier if you lose weight, that is a fact backed by any possible study you could measure. And if you argue that fact, you're literally stupid, right? But if somebody says that, if I were to go on my platform and just kind of say that and that's it, people would come at me for so-called fat shaming, right? Now, the same thing with if I talk to a man about and say, you know what? It's not the gold digger's fault that she left. It's your fault for not rising to the occasion to be a better man. Cancel culture, right? My bad. Cancel culture, right? Oh my God, I can't believe he just dogged on men. No, it's just a reality. Just the same way if I were to say, you know what? I'll just keep it there. I'll keep it there for now. When you can literally alter what reality is, you can control a narrative so much and distort the world we live in, and that's cancel culture. That's why it needs to be completely dissembled quickly, and it's our job to not feed into it. It's our job to not allow this to be pushed. We feed into it. The moment we accept it, the moment we say, "Oh, you hear what so and so did? Oh yeah, I'm not listening to that anymore. I'm not watching that no more. I'm not fucking with them anymore." The moment you accept that without doing any research is the moment you just became a sheep and you just closed your eyes to potentially getting morally robbed.
Man, I couldn't agree with you more, and I speak on it all the time, and I completely disagree with cancel culture. I actually prefer like when people speak their truth.
Yeah.
Because, so you're mixed, right? So let's give an example. Let's say Tom right here says some stuff that's racist. I don't want to cancel you because of it.
No.
Because what I know now is Tom's racist. So now I know how to deal with Tom.
Yeah.
I deal with Tom as is because now I have the information. If you make Tom think and speak a certain way, now I don't even know what Tom is, because the only things Tom's saying is what you're telling him he should say and what he should think. So I got a snake in my presence that's literally crawling in the grass right next to me that I don't realize is a racist because you've conformed him to keep his mouth shut and everything. I prefer him to open his mouth so I know who he is. And you know, what happened to the days you don't like something on TV, you change the channel?
Yeah,
We got to get the show canceled now? I don't like this. I'm not going to change the channel. I want this show canceled. What?
Yeah.
Like, grow up. What are you doing with your life? If you're so invested in this stuff, I'm so curious. Like, what do you do for a living? What do you have to show for your life? Like, who has the time and energy to do this and put this stuff into effect?
Clip this. This will be a hot take, but I'm not afraid to say it. The people that are in support of cancel culture usually are not the most impressive people. Let's be honest. They're usually not the most attractive of the litter. They're usually not the brightest of the bunch, and they're usually not the most successful, right?
Yeah.
And we can see a common trend between people promoting cancel culture and people promoting not even giving into it, because the people not giving into it are the people who are building themselves up, both physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and in this reality of success, right, monetarily.
Yeah.
Those are not the people who are given into cancel culture. You think billionaires have time to sit there and scroll and be like, cancel him, he hurt my feelings, while they're in their yacht? No.
No.
Absolutely not.
Why do you think that there's no Lamborghini commercials? Because their target audience isn't watching TV.
Right.
Their target audience is working, making money, while the rest of the clowns are watching TV, looking at a Honda on TV that they might want to buy, or Kia. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to people, man. I'm just being honest.
No,
you know,
trust me, I had a Honda for 12 years. I'm going to still say the same thing. It's a fact.
You know, and this right here is probably going to get a little chopped and clipped too. The woke culture is bullshit.
The woke culture is cancel culture.
Yeah, I was just going to say, they are tied together. They might as well be the same thing.
It is the same.
Yeah.
Because it's woke to be accepting of everything. And if you accept everything, well, if everybody shows up and just gets a trophy, how does that even work?
If you give participation trophies to everybody, and you have
They
this,
did.
I know, and you have this mentality of like, oh, you can be whatever you want, do whatever you want, you get a trophy, no one can tell you no, blah, blah, blah. And then you send these kids into the world, they get turned down for a job or turned down from a person they want to be with or so. They can't take it. They flip out. They shoot up a mall or a school or whatever because they've never been told no. They can't handle it emotionally. It's insane the type of people that we are raising and breeding and sending into the world, and then wonder why there's the crap going on that's going on.
Yeah.
All right, man. We went a little off topic, but we hit we hit some good spots though. Let's try to
It was nice to have a platform for a little bit.
I hope you enjoyed the Be the Best You podcast while I was around. All right, now let's try to get a little serious and get back into some of the questions. All right, so let's jump ahead. For the people out there that are listening or watching that are interested in starting their own brand, what advice would you give them?
For those of you out there trying to start a brand, the first thing, figure out what you stand for. Because if you stand for nothing, who's going to truly follow you? Who's going to get behind you? If you're just doing it just simply because maybe you went viral on TikTok, maybe you have a couple views, maybe you have some clout, maybe you're trying to make a couple bucks just because you're like, oh, well, other people are doing it, so I'm going to do it. If your reasons are superficial, shallow, it will go nowhere. Would you buy your brand? If you wouldn't buy your brand, why are you even starting it if you don't have a reason? And the other thing is, like, if your reason is shallow, it's probably because you haven't been through anything. If you've gone through nothing, if you've gone through no struggles, turmoil, turbulence, anything, if you haven't worked for years on something, failing multiple times, if you don't have a view, why are people going to view you? If you haven't gone through the trenches, it's hard to stand for something. You know, there's a lot of teenagers that are just ready to start a brand, right? And I think it's not about being a teenager. It's about the duration of your life. Like, have you truly gone through anything for you to have a brand to stand on? For you to have something to stand for. Because if it's just a quick buck, if you're just thinking, oh, well, I'm going to make a brand just because other people are doing it and I want to have a shirt that I sell, it's like, all right, slow down there. Slow down and think to yourself, truly, would you buy your brand? Like, look at you, and it's like, are you worthy of having people behind you? Because if you don't stand for anything and you have people behind you, you're leading them into a pitfall. And that's irresponsible. That's irresponsible. You know? But for those of you who can answer those questions truthfully and answer those questions with honor and dignity and having gone through something, what I would say is utilize every single platform. There's no platform that isn't useful. You have to diversify, just like they say invest in different stocks, you have to invest in different platforms. That way you can reach different audiences with your message. So don't lean on the brand, lean on you and your message, and the brand will inherently build itself because people aren't buying your logo, they're buying into you.
That's some really deep advice and really good advice. I'm actually really glad that you answered the question like that because, you know, normally I'd ask someone like that and they would speak like from a business standpoint, but you came from a very deep and real place. And I appreciate that. You probably don't even know this about me. My brand, Be the Best You, obviously, you know, stands for being a better you and everything. But my entire situation started from a promise that I made my mother in prison 3 years into my prison sentence. That I told her, I promised her that I would change my life and turn my life around, and, you know, I would educate myself and fix the things that was wrong with me, and I would spend the rest of my life, once I got myself right, helping other people do the same thing. And that's what I've done. That's where the Be the Best You come from. And even the other night I had a really deep conversation with my wife, and what we was discussing and talking about was I can be really hard on people. I can push really hard, you know. I push really hard on myself too, though. You might know that about me. I push really hard on myself, but I push really hard on other people. And it either forms diamonds or it busts pipes, because that's what pressure does. But when I push hard at people, it's to make them better. Everything I do comes from a good place in my heart. That's just who I am as a man and the way that I'm wired. I'm not necessarily the, you know, going to give you like, hey, it's going to be okay, come on.
Yeah, I'm not that guy.
Yeah, I'm the guy. Come on, man, you got this. Let's go. But when you do it, I'm the first person that's gonna come and give you a dap and be like, man, I'm proud of you. I knew you could do that. I knew that was in you, right? I'm that first person that's going to do that, but I'm also the person that's, and when you step out of line, like, because we all have yes men close to us, but not a lot of us have real men close to us.
Right.
So I'm that friend that if you stepping out of line, I'm like, hey, man, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Let me talk to you for a minute, man. And so one thing I've noticed is that it tends to make people either really, really like me or not like me at all. There's not a lot of middle ground. so when you come direct to people, a lot of people are going to really appreciate it because they're going to be like, man, he's hard and he's tough, but he's actually coming from a really beautiful place and he's got a big heart and he's a good dude. And some people are going to be like, man, F him, he's a dick. Because they don't want to be pushed to be better. They're fine where they're at, and they don't want me pushing them to be better. They don't want me challenging them like that.
That's one of my mantras actually. Is I tell I'm like, I challenge you to challenge you. You know, because nobody is challenging themselves anymore. There's almost zero accountability. Everybody expects more. Everybody expects to be handed more than they deserve. Mm-hmm. Everybody thinks they deserve more than they have, and everybody wants to spend money on shit they don't need because they want to feel better than they should.
Everyone wants the maximum paycheck for the minimum amount of work.
Yeah.
There you go. You just got some knowledge dropped on you. No, but listen to what this man said. If you want to start a brand, if you want to put content out there, if you want people to buy your stuff, if you want people to follow you, give them a reason to. So don't be fake. Don't just make up something to try to make money. You know, if you overcame something in your life, man, you could be out there watching this video right now and you could be a 250-pound man that's walking around on a frame that should be carrying 200 pounds. And you say, man, that's it, I've had enough. And you go hit this gym and you document your workouts, you document your journey, you document your diet, and you show how you knocked 50 pounds of fat off and transformed your body and became muscular and changed your lifestyle. Now you have a brand. Now you have a mission. Now when other people are watching, they're like, man, I want to be like this dude. I'm 50 pounds overweight. I want to lose 50 pounds overweight. You don't have to go to prison like me. You don't have to create, what he did with Mixed Tarzan. And this dude is naturally a good dude. He has natural good energy. He will make you laugh in your most pissed off moments. Like, he has this ability to do these things. Not everybody has that ability, and not everybody has my backstory, but you don't have to have that. You just have to be real and authentic.
Yeah, exactly. Authenticity. Whatever is authentic to you, you just have to be that. Otherwise, you will be making content that is distant from you, and people will know. People can sniff fake.
Yeah. All right, man. That was a beautiful answer. I appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
Oh, I got a good one for you because you are a fairly new husband. So the question I have for you is, what is your favorite thing about being a husband?
It's only one sentence actually, because it was just something to stimulate my mind about it, because it was the only thing that really mattered, which was just being able to find deeper levels of love than the day before. And you don't have to look very hard if you've chosen and vetted your partner as you should have. It's not very hard at all. People talk about the fading passion and the fire diminishing and people kind of losing interest over the years of being with somebody, and I have not found that to be true for myself. I'm newly married, but we've been together for 6 years, so you would think that the oxytocin and the love chemicals would have faded and diminished, but because we've actually forced each other to be better individuals, we are literally not the same people we walked down the aisle with. We're not the same people who we met 6 years ago. And so we're able to find new reasons to love each other because we give each other new levels to push to. Like, I am less feminine because of her. She is less masculine because of me. And we have formed a new relationship, and I'm able to look at her without having to force a reason to love her more. It just happens, and I found myself wanting to be with her more. I found myself, even at the end of the day, when I worked a 12, 15-hour day, yes, social media influencers work if we're doing our job right. After a long day, like, my most looked forward to moment is just sitting there watching anime with her.
Man.
Over the meal that she cooked, by the way.
I really appreciate your answer, and the reason I really appreciate your answer is because I literally could not agree more with every single word. In my relationship, you could describe it and mirror it the exact same way. She's made me a better person in every way possible. And I will let her answer if I've made her a better person, but I would like to think that I have because I tend to push everybody pretty hard.
Yeah, that's
But no, man, my wife is awesome and our relationship is great, and we've been together, 5 years and been married, for 3, and to me it just gets better all the time. It just gets better and better and better. I could spend 10 straight hours with my wife, and I want to spend the 11th hour with her too. Never get tired of her, and she always pushes me to be better, and I always push her to be better. She's my best friend, and I just don't think that people put in the time to the relationships that they should, and then they wonder why their relationships are the way they are or they fade. And there's a close friend of mine, I'm not going to call his name, and I'm not going to put him on blast or anything like that, but we had a very serious conversation about relationships, and he's always looking at other things, but he's married. And I told him, I said, hey man, I said, you have some issues in your relationship. This isn't making them better. Every single moment you spend, whether it's in person or by phone or on social media, searching, fishing, playing, is moments you could be spending strengthening your relationship. So if you just took that time and reallocated it towards your relationship would be so much stronger. But you're neglecting your relationship and you're watering these seeds over here, when in reality you should be watering the plant at home.
Do we know the same friend?
Probably not, but yes, we do know some same friends.
Because I was like, you seem to be talking about some friends we both know.
Yeah, they probably already cut us off. They're probably like, all right, we heard enough. Those mutual friends, they cut us off.
Yeah, that's funny.
They are no longer listening to this episode.
But about looking around at other people when you're married and all that stuff, like there's actually a large debate going around that was actually stimulated by Andrew Tate and people like him about do men just naturally gravitate away? Do they look around? Do they is it okay for men to cheat? Is it okay for this and that and the other? And my answer to that is possibly unique. I'm not really sure. I'd say if you have not watered your own seeds in your relationship, you have zero reason to be going anywhere else. If you are not able to support the woman that you're cheating with as well, I don't think you should. If you are sloppy, lazy, and always getting passed up for a promotion, if you are not a desirable individual, if you don't work very hard, why are you worried about putting your thing in somebody else when your entire reality is in shambles? Your wife is probably looking at other dudes too because you're not the ideal person, and yet you're trying to look around for other people. Yeah, it's in men's desire, I would say, more than the general woman.
Hold on, over the last decade, men and women have changed places, right? Are we talking about old women or the new women?
I'm talking about the new women.
Because the new women are the guys.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's how it is. They feminize men and masculinize women. That's how they divide us, right? But no, it's like I would say this because that's part of what caused people to say Tate was dangerous, is because he was just saying hey, I'm of a certain status, so I do this. That is not to be taken offensively, right? That's not to be taken, and if you as a normal average dude, you cannot pull off these same things that these top 1% of men can pull off. So when they say that they do these things, it's not because they do it under the covers. They do it outwardly because these women are inherently know what they're getting themselves into. So we're arguing over average versus exceptional humans, when the reality is, if you become an exceptional human, if you have all your ducks in a row, if your wife is aware and knows about these things, I'm not saying this is my own situation, I'm just saying if your wife is aware of these situations, you are fortified, you are a man of worth, you have sat there and paid your dues, you have money to go to buy a private jet. If you're living that life to which most of us can't even fathom, I would say that you're in the ground. That's what they were talking about, is that type of dude has the ability to go off. You, sitting at home with your Cheetos on your Cheeto-stained shirt, you do not have that ability. So the argument is not for you. The argument is really to inspire you to get to their level. They're using those things as carrots dangling in front of you to say, hey, everybody, look at this. You can do this if you get to my level, but most of you won't because you can't. That's the difference.
You won't put in the effort to because you're too lazy. And
well, yeah, then that's the point.
Yeah, and you know, when Andrew Tate is saying stuff about women, I don't agree with the things he's saying, but I do agree with this. As someone that's been in the fitness industry, I know you know this too because you're a good-looking man that's in the fitness industry, and we've been in the gyms together, so I already know what time it is, bro. When women are gonna come at you for certain things. Women are gonna come at you for your body and your looks. Women are gonna come at you for your money, for your status. So when you're at a level of like Andrew Tate where you're worth $600 million, you're seeing a very ugly side of women. Because women will cheat on their husbands to be with you, leave their husbands to be with you, throw themselves at you, send you pictures that they normally wouldn't send normal people, make aggressive moves that they wouldn't make under normal circumstances. So when you're at that level as a man or woman, you're seeing the bottom barrel versions of people as in what they'll do to get to you. Mm-hmm. I remember being in the gym about 5 years ago. I don't even know if me and Jess had met yet.
But wait, Jess?
Yeah. That's my wife's name.
That's my wife's name.
Alright, get out of here. Let me finish my story.
I'm serious.
I know, man.
Sorry, bro. Keep going. Holy shit.
So I was saying, like, there was this girl in there, she was trying to mess with me, and she was married. And I said to my friend, Doug, I said, man, I was like, that's the type of shit that drives me crazy about women. I was like, man, this girl, like, in here messing with me, and she's married and stuff, and I was like, you know, we get the bad rap. And I'm not saying that men ain't dogs, but I'm saying we get the bad rap even if we're not. But, like, I was telling him, I was like, that gets under my skin. And he was like, most men like it. And I was like, yeah, but it gets annoying because I see it on a regular basis, and it's nonstop, and it shows me the ugly side behind the curtain of women sometimes. And he said, this is Doug's exact words to me. He said, Larry, look at you, bro. There's nobody else in this gym that looks like you. You're handsome, you're in good shape, you're well put together, you're well spoken, you're educated, you do good things in life, you make money, you're a go-getter. He said, when a woman sees you, they say to themselves, he's a fantasy. I might not be able to get with no one like him. I'll make the exception. I'll cheat on my husband for him. I wouldn't cheat on my husband for no one else. I would cheat on my husband with him.
I've seen that same side.
So when you see that side, it's hard not to skew your bit. And imagine if you had $600 million in the bank to go with your good looks and your physique. This dude is a 4-time world kickboxing champion, and he's a good-looking man.
And 6'2", are you kidding me? Like every woman's fantasy, essentially. So
right?
He has seen the dark. And that, look, I want to clarify something. I'm not encouraging that lifestyle. What I'm saying is that for the 99% of people, of men, really, for the 99% of men out there, you should not follow what he's saying about, you know, having multiple women and stuff like that. You need to work on yourself. He's merely dangling the carrot of success the carrot of women to be like, hey, if you get to this level of success, you can pull these things off. It's not to say that you should just do it, especially not now. You are not deserving. Like, look in the mirror. Look yourself in the mirror. Would you date you? If the answer's no,
boy, this episode.
then you should. Then why are you worried about other women when you're first of all your woman's not satisfied? Like he said, why are you watering other seeds when your own seed's not watered?
Water your seed at home, man.
Like seriously, take care of your woman, take care of your kids, call your mom.
And let me say this real quick: if you are a dude like him, or me, or Bambino, and you're a good-looking man, and you're in good shape, and you have stuff going on with your career and your life, it doesn't mean you have to be that way. I love my woman. I don't want to be with any other woman, period. There's nothing you can make me do to be with someone else besides my wife. I love my wife. I look forward to every day I spend with her. I want to grow old with her. She's my best friend. I love her with everything I have. You don't, just because you can get something doesn't mean you need to take it. Just because you can run a red light doesn't mean you need to run a red light, right? So stop at the stop sign. Stop at the stoplight. Man, water your seed at home, work on your relationship, and just because you can do something doesn't mean you need to do it, man.
Agreed.
All right, so the next question, before we get kicked off the air. Ever since I've known you, you've had a positive attitude and a big personality. Where did that come from, and how do you keep that?
You know, just like you going through darkness, that's the only way that you can truly appreciate the day-to-day things. Like if you haven't gone through some really dark, traumatizing things, you can't fully appreciate what's good and what's around you. And so because I've gone through these things, I've seen true hell. Like I've seen like living nightmares, and I've lived them. I was, you know, I don't even want to go into what I've gone through. It doesn't matter. The point is I've seen it. So every day I can look at the sun and be like, damn, that's dope.
Yeah.
You know, every day I can look at my wife and be like, damn, that ass. Or every day, you know what I mean? And like not take for granted the little things. The fact that like literally every time I eat out, food, every time I go to a restaurant, I literally appreciate that shit because I'm like, yo, there was a point in time where I could not buy guacamole on Chipotle. There was a point in time where food stamps was the only time I got to eat well. You know, growing up, like this is real life. People really go through struggles, and you know what? I went through a first world struggle, which is nothing compared to some other people across the world. Mm-hmm. And so to know that there's hell, and to know that there's even worse hells than what I've been through, is just world altering. So everything is a blessing. You can't have sunshine without rain.
What Tupac say? For every bright night, there's a beautiful bright day coming. For every dark night, there's a beautiful day coming. Yeah, man. Listen. You got to be thankful and blessed. If you're alive, if you're healthy, if you're breathing, if you have opportunity, don't take any day for granted. No day is promised, man. And like Tupac said, for every dark night, there's a bright day. So if you make it through that dark night and you make it to that bright day, be thankful, man. Be thankful. Yeah. All right. So you said, I don't even know why I'm about to say this because we blew past the controversy part. You said you don't mind talking about controversial topics.
Not at all.
Or the discussions that go with them. So what is your opinion on about the debate in the streets about whether body counts matter or not?
Oh no. Okay, so tell you what. It baffles me. Women have a beautiful, healing, nurturing energy. All women are just intrinsically born with that, right? It baffles me that we're in a society where a lot of people are fighting to give that away so easily. Like, why are there so many women fighting for that to not be, or fighting for that to be accepted? Fighting for high body counts not to matter. Like, if you talk to any normal, rational woman, they're like, no, I prefer to only have one partner. I prefer not to just go off and be with many men. So why are we fighting so adamantly to promote promiscuity? That's the part I don't understand about it. It makes no sense.
Well, when you have Cardi B,
I don't
wet ass pussy, and excuse my language because I usually don't talk like that. WAP is the #1 song in America, and people are letting their kids twerk in front of cars to it, and that's what the young girls are looking up to. It's almost like this woke culture and this cancel culture. We're breeding nonsense, and people are not intelligent enough to understand that they're doing this for money. Almost like when we're talking about the Andrew Tate situation, and you're saying he's dangling the carrot. He's doing it for money. They're doing that for money, but then these people are taking it literal and doing it for real, right? And so it's creating a messed up society. I mean this in all seriousness. I'm 42 years old, man, and I met my wife in my late 30s. Obviously, I wasn't a virgin, and I didn't expect her to be a virgin. And I had 2 kids, and she had 2 kids. And if you're later in life, you're meeting people, you're not expecting them to be that. So I don't really care about, what you've done or what I've done. But I will say this, man. I have 3 daughters, right? I raised my daughters and would tell them this, like, what you have is special. It's your essence. Once it's gone, you can't get it back. And dudes are going to come at you every which way possible to try to get that from you. And these are the things they're going to do, and this is how they're going to do it, but they really only want one thing. So, if I had a piece of advice for young girls out there or men, take care of yourself, value yourself, respect yourself, appreciate yourself. Don't let yourself be abused or give yourself away, because even if it's fun in the moment, and even if it seems like a cool thing to do, and even if it feels good, promise you this: there's gonna come times in your life when you're gonna regret some of those decisions. It's almost like eating a bunch of honey buns now, and you wake up 5 years from now and you're 40 pounds overweight, and you're like, why did I let myself get like this? You keep doing those type of things, there's going to be a point where you say, like, I feel terrible about myself. Why did I let myself go this far? Think before you act. Actions, man. Be careful about your actions. I respect anybody and what they've done, and I don't need to know anybody's business. And I would say this: stop telling people how many people you've been with. Stop putting your business out there. That's nobody else's business. That's your personal business. But to all the guys and girls listening, man, I know it seems cool for guys to go around and be with a bunch of women, but you're devaluing yourself as a man, as a human, every time you go and do that. So before you start to devalue yourself, think about that. And think about what you stand for, who you are, and what your character is.
I want to go deeper on what you just said about devaluing of man when they chase after women. I agree. It's a little different, women giving themselves up versus men giving themselves up, but both in essence will lose value. And here's why: because with men, you're giving your resources away, you're giving your time away, and you're giving your precious like energy towards chasing, right? So you literally lose value, because you now are allocating time that could have been spent towards bettering yourself, calling your mom, drinking water, going to the gym, investing in stocks, researching things. You are giving all that energy into multiple chases of women when you should be giving it to yourself and to your family. And that's the part that makes you truly devalued. It's wild. Like, you do not need to waste your time with that. You need to be better for yourself. And like he said, respect yourself. Respect yourself.
Alright, so touching on the same controversial topics, here's another one. What's your opinion on the Twitter files?
I like Elon. I think Elon's interesting. Obviously you can't like everything a person does or says, but I think Elon's interesting, and I'm very glad that he attempted, if what I know about it is true, he attempted to, shed light on some controversial shed light on some things that were kept in the shadows.
Have you watched any of the hearings about some of the stuff?
A little bit, yeah. And the fact that there was a narrative control, and the fact that they controlled which sides got heard more, should not be surprising to anybody. If, regardless of what you are, red or blue, left or right, conservative or liberal, there's clearly a narrative push. There's clearly a side that's being pushed a little more on certain topics, and we should all just kind of agree to that and know that, okay, well, if certain things are getting suppressed and if certain things are getting pushed, then obviously they're trying to lead us down a certain way. I'm just glad that it got exposed a little bit, and more people are understanding that there is a little bit of a narrative control.
I read some of them, and I watched a little bit of one of the trials the other day. In reading it, I think, depending on what you're watching, it's going to control the narrative anyways. When I was reading it, it was crazy how one-sided it was towards the Democrats, favoring them and their agendas and what they're pushing, and how they were suppressing a lot of the Republican stuff. And I'm not a Democrat or Republican.
Neither am I. So very adamantly not.
I do not agree with politicians, period. So when I say this, I'm not saying this from a biased standpoint. I'm saying off of the files that I read that was released, that are facts. And I also watched part of the trial, and this lady was on there, and she was being questioned by a congresswoman that was a judge. And the lady, she was, I don't know what her official title was, but she had the final call on what could get released and what would get suppressed. And she was asking her, she was about suppressing information about the shot and the vaccine. And so there was proof that they suppressed doctors from Johns Hopkins University, Stanford University, and Harvard University that was speaking out about the cautions and beware of the side effects and the stuff that could happen if you took the shot. And so she was asking this lady, if you're blocking their content and you're saying that it's lies and it's not true, what is your doctrine in and what gives you the medical authority to debute that and say it's wrong? And she's like, I didn't go to med school, I don't have any. And she's like, well then who told you to do this? And she literally, under oath, the government reached out to me and told me to do it. The government made me make those decisions.
I did not see that.
I have the video, I'll show it to you, it's crazy. So like watching that, that's insane. This is a major media platform, this is Twitter. This woman's under oath being questioned by a congresswoman that's a judge that has her under oath. And she's like, I'm asking you a direct question. Who told you to suppress these doctors' information of what they were trying to tell people in the public? And she, under oath, basically, well, not basically, she did say, the government told me not to suppress this and to not let this out. So, you know, stuff like that is crazy.
And that's why I am so adamant about challenging your own thought. Challenge you. Challenge your thought. Challenge where they came from. So let's wipe all red and blue off the table. Male and female, black and white. Let's eliminate all of it off the table. We're just people living in a world, right? If it was truly about health, right? Why wasn't there more money and free access to like cancer research, or not to cancer patients or heart disease, if it was really about health? Because there's a large contingent of the population that dies from cancer and heart disease, right? So why is there not free access to those things, whereas there was free access to this jab? And it was even promoted, and some people even came out to say that they were influencers who got asked to promote the vaccine, whether they took it or not, for a paycheck.
I have a question for you. How many things that are truly healthy for us as individuals in the United States of America, which is a capitalist country, is free?
0. Even good water is not free.
But yet this was free.
This was free though.
Not only was it free, they were forcing you to take it or you lose your job.
And paying for the promotion and the acceptance of it. It's
I'm going to ask you this one more time. In the United States of America, a capitalist country, how many things can you think of that are really good for you that are free?
0.
Let's move on. All right, before we leave, man, this is the Be the Best You podcast. And I know we talked about a lot of crazy stuff today and we had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this interview, but the ultimate reason behind this podcast is to be the best you for real. And you might not be there right now, and you might need some motivation to get there. So the final question that I wanted to ask you is, if you could give one piece of advice or some motivation to anyone that's watching or listening, what would it be?
That's important because it's a final send-off. So no matter who you are, no matter what ethnicity or what bloodline you have, no matter what, self-accountability is the only thing that matters. Because if you can look inward and accept the things that are wrong with you and not try to blame other people, but instead spend that energy fixing yourself, you won't have the time to complain about what other people are doing. And your life will automatically, by default, get better. Because if you're spending beautiful energy, beautiful time, your precious time, if you're spending your precious time on worrying about everything else except for your own body, mind, spirit, soul, family, loved ones, then that means that you are inherently deteriorating. We are a deteriorating flesh. Mm-hmm. If we do not work on any one thing, that one thing will inherently deteriorate, right? Mm-hmm. These are facts. Anything that we don't work on will get worse over time. It does not get better. Therefore, if you only work on being mad about the world, being mad about everybody around you, being mad about somebody else's opinion, the only thing that can get better is your adamancy on said opinion, right? I don't know if that's what adamancy is. Your opinion on their opinion. That's the only thing that can get better if that's what you focus on. Instead, redirect your focus at the mirror.
Boy, have you been listening to my podcast? Because we say this every week. Man, listen to this man. Listen to what he's saying. Stop looking outwardly and start looking inwardly. Awesome piece of advice, man. And no joke, man. Like, not only have I said that, so many other guests have said that. and these people are super successful people, man.
Isn't it ironic that the most successful are the ones that talk about the same kind of message, which is inward reflection and growth? It's interesting.
It's very interesting.
Interesting.
Hey man, do me a favor real quick. So if people are watching or listening, tell them, anything, any way they might find you, whether it's a social media site, a website, a way they can email you, how they can watch a video of yours. Give them the breakdown, man. Give them the breakdown.
So if you want satirical humor, my thoughts and opinions, but just put in a comedic form, it's going to be Mixed Tarzan, Mixed_Tarzan on any platform. And if you'd rather hear my thoughts and opinions on fitness and health than otherwise, which I have a decade of experience in herbs and wellness, and I know what I'm talking about there, it's Julius Alexander on anything.
And just remember, this was the episode that got him canceled, and me as
Yeah,
well.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to look back on that and be like, damn, I said some stuff, man. It'll be alright. It'll work itself out, right?
Nah, man, I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me,
It was
man.
a great interview. I appreciate the energy. I hope you guys do as well. I know we talked about some crazy stuff, but
we can agree. We can have healthy discourse.
Exactly.
We can disagree and still be friends. Don't forget.
Yeah, we're all human beings and we all have opinions, man. And at the end of the day, you might not agree with me and him, but we both come from good places and we both want to not only succeed, but to have our friends, families, and even strangers succeed. My goal in life is to help as many people as possible. I made a promise to my mom 15 years ago, and I've been living my life like that since. And this dude right here is awesome, man. I know he goes through stuff because we all go through stuff. I've never seen this man not smiling. This man's always in a good mood, man. Y'all use that energy, use that motivation he gave y'all, man, and do the best you can, man. Be the best you. Thank you for tuning in. Once again, man, please take the time to like, share, comment, subscribe, do all those great things. This has been another episode of the Be the Best You podcast. Try until you fly.